Morning. I'm going to go over the setup of the Neptune device and then how to initiate the therapy with it. This is how the device should be stored in materials. Oxygen tank should already be on this. This device is designed to use portable oxygen so it can be transported in the ambulance. Get the device, get your supplies, and as we're putting it together, we start with air filter. So this is going to be your antimicrobial filter that's going to pull in filtered air, and the muffler to help deaden the sound. They only fit together one way, so that's easy. Slip the filter onto the muffler, the filter then into the bottom of the air blender. It's just a gentle twist in. As to note too, the filter is the only thing disposable. The muffler needs to be cleaned and reused. Next, I'm going to get the concha column, and that slips down through the middle of the device. This is your water reservoir, or where the water will heat in the device. Get your water reservoir bottle. And sorry for the finger on it, but that's just to keep it from leaking all over. It has a top and a bottom spike. So the top spike tubing from the column goes into the top. The spike tubing that comes out the bottom of the device then from the column goes into the bottom. And then the water bottle just sits in the holder on the side. This is the water for the humidification. Take your short corrugated tubing. One end attaches to the outlet on the air blender, and you can see right there showing the direction of the air, so you're going to connect there. This will connect to either of the two ports on the top of the column. It does not matter which port. So I've got that connected. I'm connecting now the air blender, mixer and blender, to the column, which is where it's going to pick up the heat and water vapor. I then take the longer tubing, which will go to the patient. And if you'll notice, one end is a single, the other end has a little Y with wires out. This is my temperature probe wire. This end that's open next to the wire will go in the bottom, or the other opening on the top of the column. I then have my heater cable and my temperature cables. My temperature probe cables are the the short and long one that are attached to the front of the device. My warming cable is this blue one that comes out the bottom of the device. There is also a yellow one. We are not using this one with our setup at all. Taking the blue cable here, attached to the blue wire, and inside it you will notice a little tiny groove or slot. Match it to the slot on your heating cable wire and slide them together. They only go one way. If you get resistance, do not force it. Then I'm taking my temp probe wires. The short one is going to attach in this open area, right where the long corrugated tubing attaches to my water column. The long temperature probe, there's another opening for it out here. This is the sensor to make sure that I've got heat going through this. To keep the cable under control, there are three white rings with clips on them on the tubing. Just slide your cable into that.
Can you show him a ring? John.
This is one of the rings on the corrugated tubing. Lastly, to finish setting this up, you're going to get your nasal cannula, your high flow cannula. We have 3 sizes: small, medium, and large.
Don't move. Okay.
The key to determination is to look at the prongs and look at your patient before you select this. The nasal prongs should only occlude about 50% of the nares. So if you've got a person with a very small nose and small opening, you're going to want a small size cannula. It's not related to body size, it's look at their nose and how big their nares are. The corrugated tubing attaches there, that's easy. To put this on the patient, first of all, the lanyard that's on it, slip that over the patient's head. Then the nasal cannula, like any cannula, goes on the patient's nose. The holding strap over the head is bifurcated. The lower bifurcation goes around just above the ears.
Move your arm so they can see. Look at that. Okay.
The lower bifurcation should go just above the ears, the upper one back over the crown of the head. The reason for the lanyard is then after we have that, we want the tubing to have a C shape along the side of the patient. So use the lanyard, cinch it through its little hole slot it's in, so that it maintains that C shape. You can then use the little attached clip to clip that to the patient as an added weight so it's not pulled. That's the steps of setting up the device. To initiate therapy, now that we've got it on, make sure you open your oxygen tank. Power on your device. The device goes through a self-check. This device will automatically turn on to what its last setting was. If you need to change the set temperature, the flashing check mark, press and hold that until you get your other option keys. Scroll up or scroll down to whatever the ordered temperature is. The temperature is a part of the physician's order. 31 degrees Celsius is one of the common settings.
Does it have Fahrenheit?
Does not have Fahrenheit. This is Celsius only. In looking at it, the other piece to note is right above this green dot, it's illuminated the left icon. That left icon is the one that tells me I'm on the nasal cannula. If it happens to be to the other side, which would be for an endotracheal tube, just press the green button so it shows up on the right side. Once you've got the settings completed, press the check mark again. Takes a little time for it to hit. But once this is going, you'll see now that the degrees Celsius is flashing. That tells me that when it's flashing, that it is starting to heat up that column in there.
So the temperature that we're seeing right now is the current temperature inside the column.
That is the current temperature inside the column.
And it's slowly going up to the 31 that we set it at.
Yes, this will now slowly go up to 31 that we set up.
We don't start it until it reaches the 31?
No, we can start it now.
Okay.
We don't have to wait for it to reach because we can initiate therapy. It's just once the temperature reaches its ordered temp, that heat will add a lot more humidification, which is more comfortable for the patient. Next, I'm going to power on my the air blender, the FiO2 sensor. So that little screen here in the middle, it's two buttons. This is the right-hand button, on-off button. I'm going to press. It is showing me 21%, which is room air. To start therapy, I'm going to start with my lower knob, which is my flow rate. This one I will slowly, and the key word here is slowly, turn it up to whatever the liter per minute flow rate that the doctor ordered. This will be ordered in increments of 5 liters per minute.
Can you hold a sec? Let me zero in on that meter. See the different graduations. 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50.
So I'm going to start turning my dial up. As I'm turning this up, this is going to start giving the flow through the patient, so they will start to feel flow through here. For this demonstration, I am going to bring this up to a flow rate of 40 liters per minute. And it will never be precise, it's going to be always bouncing just a little bit, so it's an eyeball, keep it close to that. As I have increased the flow rate through here, so it's pushing air at that higher flow, my FiO2 is already starting to go up just from that. But let's say I was ordered a flow rate of 40 liters and FiO2 of 50%. And the oxygen order will be in a percentage. I'm now going to go to my oxygen one, and again, slowly turning it up, watching my digital readout. And I say slow because it adjusts. A small turn can cause a lot of variation in the FiO2. And so I'm at now 50%. And again, it is going to fluctuate a little bit around that. So it will never say, you'll never keep it at precisely 50% or whatever percent of FiO2. There will always be some variation. That is setting up and initiating the therapy. This is a nasal cannula. It is just a much higher flow rate, so we can give a larger concentration of oxygen. Because of this piece, the reservoir, the heater, it is heated and humidified, so it is going to be much more comfortable than a regular nasal cannula or a regular face mask for the person. We can get a lot better compliance with them. With our patient, if we can, we want them to nose breathe, not mouth breathe. The flow rate also tends to add more PEEP to it. The general rule of thumb is 1 centimeter of additional PEEP for every 10 liters per minute flow. So at a flow rate of 40 liters, I am adding approximately 4 centimeters of PEEP onto the person's breathing. That's going to help keep my airways, my alveoli open during expiration, increase the oxygen diffusion from the alveoli into the bloodstream. We're going to monitor our patient through our normal monitoring, primarily what is their pulse ox, what is their respiratory rate, how do they look and feel.
All right. That's it, and we're going to discuss here in just a sec after we turn this off. Thanks, guys.